CEO incentive structure, Stagnate continuous improvement? Stick around to find out.
This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody claim, but the click exclusive. Many pursue, but it's too elusive.
There is an article by Fortune magazine titled, "We analyzed 40,000 mergers and acquisitions deals over 40 years. Here is why 70 to 75% fail." Calvin, the number of annual merger and acquisition deals in the United States for this year was 1,200 to 1,500 deals a year. And worldwide is about 5,000 mergers and acquisitions. We are talking about $2 trillion
Jeez.
spent on mergers and acquisition.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Give me 2 trillion.
2
You
trillion.
know, I could have fun with 2 trillion. That's
Oh
a big
my
number.
And the thing is that, the rate of mergers and acquisitions are increasing, and that failure rate is increasing as well.
Yeah,
Why do you think this is happening?
That's an interesting phenomenon because you would think that over time we get better at this,
We're
right?
not getting better.
We're not getting better, right? It's one of those phenomena that you would think the more we do, the more likely for success we'd have, but that's not what we're seeing in this situation, right?
Right.
I think it does point to a lack of adoption of continuous improvement and operational excellence because what is it that you're doing once you've acquired a new business is now you got to get it to perform. You got to get it to perform at a high level, at least a level that you showed in the spreadsheet when you justified the purchase, right? So there's usually an assumption of, hey, we've run our business successfully to some extent. Look at this business is underperforming. There may be some synergies in the way our business works and the way this other one works, and we can improve some operational efficiencies, and we can, this can be a successful acquisition. But what's actually happening is the acquisition takes place, but the operational excellence gets left behind. Why is that? And I honestly think that there's a lot to do with what is a priority for the CEO, right? A lot of CEOs get rewarded handsomely for going out and catching the whale. They don't necessarily have as much of a strong incentive structure for now nurturing that whale to excellence.
You mentioned one key motivation to do a merger or an acquisition. You say some companies might be doing well and think they can grow faster by doing that acquisition. But this article mentioned there is another motivation, that companies are actually not doing well. They're failing at their current operations, and they think that making that acquisition is going to save them.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because what that means is you have a business model that's not really working, right? You may be losing customers, losing market share, not getting ahead, and you instead of saying, hey, let's take that money, 2 trillion collectively, but per company it's a good amount of money too. Let's take that money and let's double down on improving the operational efficiencies within our own company, running a better business, better margins, just healthier all around. They think, oh, you know what, this is what it is. Let me look outward to save us from ourselves, in a sense.
Yes, and also, besides thinking, okay, this acquisition is going to make us grow, make us better, there is an underlying reason why there are so many acquisitions that we're not talking about so much. And that is CEO incentives and compensation.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yes, so when a CEO goes forward with an acquisition, what happens to their compensation? So they get an acquisition bonus, okay, nice little chunk of money.
Sounds nice.
Yes, their annual compensation actually increases as well because that compensation is mostly based on company size.
So you get an acquisition, now you got a bigger company, probably got more customers, probably got more employees, higher compensation.
So you have your acquisition bonus, higher compensation, and you also have a longer tenure. So the CEOs that make mergers and acquisition tend to be at the head of that company for 4 to 5 years longer compared to CEOs that do not make mergers and acquisitions.
And that might be the most destructive one of, they're all destructive when it comes to a CI culture, right? I mean, we can go down the list. So acquisition bonus. If you're going to get an acquisition bonus, right away is taking your attention away from internal operations and you're looking out. You're always shopping, right?
Closing that deal.
And, I tell my kids this at home. I say, hey, the way to be happy is to love what you got and take good care of what you got, right? Don't always be looking for something outside to make you happy, right? And I think this is a similar thing. If you get an acquisition bonus, you're almost incentivizing that shopping behavior as a way to grow and as a way to improve, right? And that's kind of antithetical to continuous improvement. I mean, CI is like, hey, we have processes, we have operations. They're operating at 70%. What can we do to get them to 90, right? It takes a lot of focus, a lot of attention, a lot of investment.
So do you think this incentive package affects the failure rate of mergers and acquisitions?
Absolutely. Because let's say it's like a kid with a new toy, they put so much energy and emotional capacity into getting the new toy. And then once they get it, they play with it for a while and then realize that it, is just the same as all the other ones. And they throw it in the toy box and they're already looking for the next toy, right? But a CI mindset is, how do I get my existing toy set to peak operating condition, right?
Okay.
And really love and take care of what you got. The other thing about lengthening tenure, CEOs that acquire more stay in their job longer. So that's job security for acquisition, right? And not job security for building a healthier business internally. So it's almost incentivizing a mindset of, hey, my job as CEO is to go out and get something else, to be shopping the market and playing the market more broadly, not even taking care of existing customers, but just looking at different new businesses, right, to buy. It's somebody else's job to drive operational efficiency. It's somebody else's job to do CI. And guess what that somebody else is thinking?
It's not a priority for the CEO.
It's not a priority for the CEO. And they're also thinking, oh, well, if the CEO is saying that CI is somebody else's job, then I'm going to think that CI is somebody else's job, right?
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is, hey, let's just go get a low-level CI manager and they're going to turn everything around. They're going to run this business and hit the numbers that we plugged into this spreadsheet, right? I think they try to make their jobs a little too easy.
Oh my
If things were that easy, right? But they never are.
Yeah, but this number we're talking about a rate of 70 to 75% of lost value with these acquisitions. This is an intolerable rate.
Yeah,
So I
is.
think something has to change. What do you think will be a better compensation model to improve, these numbers?
This thing of rewarding acquisitions and not rewarding running a healthy business from the start. I think that's where the misalignment is, and that needs to be reconciled, right? Because if you're running a healthy business with healthy operating margins, and those margins are growing over time, and customers are happy, and new customers are coming into your existing business, to me, that is the holy grail that an investor, a CEO, the employees, that's what you want, really, right? It's just that it's much easier to show growth and customer acquisition and all that by just dropping some money to go get a different business, right? It's like paying your way out of failing. And it's just not a healthy dynamic, right? What you end up doing is what this study is showing is you're just bringing in more failure, right? Money doesn't necessarily, especially if it's not used well, money doesn't necessarily make for a better run business. It just sometimes highlights the dysfunction that already exists in the company. And this is one of those cases. So I would think things like gross margin, operating margin, cost of goods sold, a lot of those metrics that get put on a CEO or VP of operations need to be more closely held by the CEO. And in fact, boards of directors, right? Instead of creating this kind of golden parachute situation for CEOs, they should say, hey, a great CEO is really growing these margins, and these are going to have a heavier weight than acquisitions and some of these other things that are antithetical to a creating a culture of continuous improvement. So I think that's where the game is at.
Yes, so now you know, get better at improving what you already have first.
That's right. And bring these new businesses, whether they're thriving or failing, bring it into a successful model. And then you can make the choice as to how you're going to integrate those two organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Calvin.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for listening. Let's get better every day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. For daily news on operational excellence and how it relates to current events, check us out on the Ticket to Freedom podcast.
Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest developments in continuous improvement.